Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a good day so far. Right, so I'm part of the commercial and procurement shared service. So we are we are a service, if you like, that works across three councils. What we do is we try to look collaboratively in terms of procurements. So going out to the market maybe with one procurement for the three councils to try and get best value, basically, because you've probably all heard that the, the economy is really bad. There's no money. And that's pretty much true. So we've got to be very clever at how we do our spending and how we do our buying at the moment. So we were set up basically, if you see the vision statement there, to deliver innovative, sustainable, cost-effective and high-quality strategic procurement services, maximising outcomes and value and fostering collaboration. So that's really what we do, and we cover quite a number of areas as well. We go across, category and commercial management, social care commissioning. We do legal, and we also have a data team who do a lot of the analytics on all the spend that everyone's making. So it's quite a busy little team. So spend analytics. So annually, we spend, and this is based on 24-25 figures, the spend in this period across the three councils was just under £1.5 billion. So that's the level of spend that we are, as a service, are responsible for. And this is across existing contracts and agreements and new contracts as well. So in terms of Aberdeen City Council, they awarded regulated contract notices for an overall value of £470 million, with a further 6.6 million through low value, non-regulated procurements, including quick quotes. And that's why it's vital as a small to medium enterprise that you are on PCS, because that's where we find you and that's where we can come and ask you to do a quick quote. Aberdeenshire Council, the period that we're talking about, a value of £164 million, with a further 66 million on those non-regulated quick quote sort of aspects. Highland, 129 million, with a further 41 million through those quick quotes. So you can see that the extent of the opportunity is quite vast. Now, the top category of spend is generally always going to be construction, because when you're building things like schools and housing and so on, it's obviously going to be quite a large part, quite a large chunk of your budget. Construction accounted for £550 million of spend in financial year 24-25, and a number of new projects came on board as well across the regulated procurements. Those are the ones that come through PCS, and there was quite a number as well through the quick quote process. Other high spend areas, as you would imagine, are social care, property maintenance and management, and also utilities. If you're interested in seeing the breakdown of any of these figures, we're due to be publishing our annual reports quite soon in November, December of this year. And that contains an overview of all the procurement activity that we do as a collaborative entity for the last financial year, and also a forward plan for what we're looking to spend going forward for the next 2 years. So that gives you a bit of an idea, and it helps you with your planning, hopefully, as well. That's where those procurements are currently known. Sometimes things come out of left field and we have to react quite quickly, so it may not have been planned, but again, that's why PCS is so important, because if you're on there, we can get to you quickly if it is something that's just come out of the blue. So how do our processes work? Well, as public bodies, we have to ensure compliance with legislation and internal governance. So each of the councils have got their own internal governance, and this is intended to support equal treatment and transparency of suppliers, access to opportunities being very open, and to try and attract best value wherever we possibly can. The assessment to determine whether a tender or quotation is required is based upon the overall value over the duration of the contract, and whether it's a one-off or whether it's an ongoing requirement over a period. And those are the defining factors. How do we decide how to go to market? Well, it just depends, is the answer. It depends on how we can best meet demand in terms of the structure, the requirements, and the terms of the contract. We also have a look to see what available frameworks or dynamic purchasing systems might already be available to us. So when Lisa was up here talking about Scotland Excel, as a service, we call off from a lot of the Scotland Excel contracts. So again, it's worth keeping an eye on those ones as they're coming through, because we use them as a basis, as a starting point almost, if we don't have our own frameworks or agreements in place. We also need to look at what outcomes are going to be met through the contract and whether that's going to meet local priorities and national priorities. And we have to look at what outcomes are going to be delivered. Again, we're going back to the best value, environmental factors, economic and community benefits, which seems to be quite a new buzzword, but although they've been kicking around for quite a number of years. We've also got to consider what the market conditions are like. So market engagement for us is key. So sometimes on PCS we'll come out with what's known as a PIN, a prior information notice, and this is maybe sometimes just to gather interest and to see what the appetite is for suppliers to actually come to bid on that specific thing. So that can also give you a heads up if there's something coming along in the pipeline that we're looking to do. And that sort of engagement helps to shape the format of any tender that comes out as a result. How do you access? How do you get involved? Well, I mentioned PCS. It's absolutely crucial that you're on there, and make sure that you have the right details on there. Quite often we have people who say that they have that they are on PCS, but they've put down a specific name rather than an info at. If you put down a specific name and that person might go off sick, they might be on holiday, or they might just leave the company, then that goes into a big black hole. And even though you're on PCS, you're not going to see those notices. So try wherever possible to have a backup plan. Have at least 2 addresses, and if you can do an info at, that's probably a really, really good thing to do, because then you're not going to miss anything that might be coming through, as long as your profile has got all the buzzwords that you need to be captured and identified, basically. So make sure you've got the right profile details in there. In terms of getting to the market, it's crucial to access all the training and support as well, and that's again where STP come into play. If you register on these sites, it's all free. There's no cost to you to actually do this, and it just opens up the opportunities and opens up visibility to those opportunities, which I think is very, very key, because if you don't see them, you don't know they're there, and if you don't know they're there, you're not going to be able to bid. So that's the bottom line. I think what's also important is if you create the right alerts. Now, sometimes PCS can be quite complex, but if you go in and create the right alerts, so if anything comes up on PCS that would fit your profile and your buzzwords, then you will get an alert through to say this is happening, and this is where to find it. You can also, for those more local opportunities for within the shared service area, we have our own commercial and procurement pages on social media. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, for instance, if you're on LinkedIn, you can get a lot of the information there, as well as going on to our websites where you can see all the contract registers. But if you do have an interest and you've not been at our stalls as yet, then come along, and we have QR codes for all our contract registers, which means that you can actually see what we're currently doing in terms of contracts and what's going to be coming up. You can sense that by the beginning and end dates for everything that's on there. So, and you can filter it and you can play around with it to see your specific areas of interest. Further support. There's a supply chain development officer that's recently been appointed and will soon be starting with us. And they will be the interface really between our economic development teams as well as Business Gateway Aberdeen and so on. And they will be out there trying to grab your details and try to encourage your involvement in public sector sort of supply. The post holder will be tasked with actively engaging you, the private and third sector, businesses to support your growth. To see, but we would ideally, if we're helping small businesses in our area, that's great for the local economy. And if it's good for the local economy, that has a huge knock-on effect to everyone within all the areas. So that's what we're really looking to do. So we're trying to keep it local as much as possible within the regulations and restrictions that we have to adhere to as well. Community benefits and those sort of that community wealth building piece is a way that you can actually really get localized. So please, don't give up hope. Try and get into the system, because it will be worth your while once you get in. We have some opportunities coming up that I wanted to go through. So just in case there's anything of note here. So we have, as I said earlier, if we can do something collaboratively across the three councils, we will, because we're trying to do that, the buying power of the three councils. Sometimes we just can't do that because it's a specific requirement. And I'll give you some examples of what's about to come to the market. So we'll be looking for telematics across all three councils. That is software that will be installed into all council vehicles to monitor pace, distance covered, some of the operational factors and so on as well. If it's a bin lorry, you can track if he actually did stop at your house, even though you're complaining that you didn't get your bins picked up or whatever. It's all that monitoring piece. And also it helps with our planning and so on as well for fleet management and fleet replacement cycles. We have one coming up, which is collection and storage of household belongings. Again, that's over the three council collaborative. So keep an eye out for that one if that's your thing. We have WIC public service obligation. That is a government-backed contract providing flights from WIC to Aberdeen and sometimes WIC to Edinburgh. It depends. We're working on the specification for that one as we speak. So we'll wait and see what comes out of that. We have electrical installation conditioning reports for all housing stock. That's coming along for Highland. There'll be 4 lots in that. We have power tools coming out. Again, that's a Highland only opportunity. Looking to do power tools and maintenance, and that's actually a live opportunity. So if you're interested in that, go and have a look now, sign up to PCS, because I do believe that one has just been published. So have a look for that one. We have the dynamic purchasing system for foundation apprenticeships. Now, slightly different from a framework. Dynamic purchasing systems, it means that you can actually jump on at any time. It's not one of these frameworks where you bid to a deadline, and if you miss the deadline or you don't get accepted at that deadline, then you have to wait 2, 3, 4 years. This you can jump on when you're ready, basically. You've just got to fulfill a number of small requirements and you can jump on there. So keep an eye out for that one as well. What else have we got? Transported school meals. Again, three council collaboration. Many smaller schools now don't have their own kitchens, so they rely on lunches, food being delivered from the bigger high schools where they've got bigger catering facilities. So we need obviously to have that moved around the country. Trade's a big one for Highland. Housing and property reactive repairs. So please, again, keep an eye out for that one if you're interested in looking at the Highland side of things. We have supply and delivery of horticultural and trees, sort of speaks for itself. Ground maintenance as well. Roadside verge cutting. Back in the day, this was done by farmers and so on. Sometimes that's not always possible because farmers are busy people. So we're just inviting people to come in for that. Provision of training services. Again, three council collaboration. A specific one for Aberdeen City is school counselling services. And we've got play parks and mini competitions going on through the Scotland Excel outdoor play equipment framework, and that's coming out in October and November. So that just gives you a little bit of a flavour of the sort of things that we're looking for. You can find more forward plans if you come to our site. If there's anything of specific interest on what I've said here this morning, or this afternoon I should say, please come and speak to us, find out a little bit more from the people who are actually on the coalface doing that procurement work. And we have forward plans Again, there's QR codes that you can find all that detail from our stand. So again, thank you very much. Come and speak to us, and again, have a great rest of the day. Thank you.